Yet we want them to report these incidents to us. We, the collective we, want that information and we need that data. We can't afford to be paralysed by its scope. We must be investing in systems and in frameworks to handle it. And we must also be anticipating where online communications will take us in the future and what the ramifications for law enforcement will be. Already the UN is grappling with the complexities of cloud computing, where data and programs cease to be stored on desktops and instead are stored remotely on a cloud of web servers that expands and contracts as needed, like Hotmail or Gmail accounts. People are embracing this because they can access applications or data from anywhere in the world via any number of devices other than a computer. But our existing law enforcement approach is that data is stored on a computer system. With cloud computing, where is the computer system? Where is the data? How do we gain access? How do we deal with cross-jurisdictional issues? Where is the victim? And where were they when the crime was committed? No surprise, this is of no relevance to organised crime. They operate in a borderless virtual world, using such technology to cherry-pick opportunities across and through jurisdictions and to access information. I'd like to go back to Auguste Bourquet if I can. You'll recall 30 years ago, and he wrote this: "A democratic society allows a citizen great freedom of movement. The individual's right to privacy is cherished and balanced against the needs of the state." Be no argument from anybody in the room here, I'm sure. The computer, 30 years ago, the computer, he said, however, opens individuals' privacy to attack, not only from the state but from criminal groups. Organised crime poses a serious and growing threat to the individual's privacy. My colleague Dr. David Lacey will speak more later today on the challenges that law enforcement faces in relation to data access and ingestion. I'm not going to preempt Dave's presentation here, but I do want to say that the tension between the community's desire for privacy and our obligations to detect and protect the community from organised crime is far from over. There are many difficult questions that we still need to debate. We live in a time where people want their goods and services instantly. Instant communication, instant information, instant education, instant business transactions, travel, instant government services, instant banking. The faster the better, right or wrong, good or bad, we want it, and we want it now. And it seems that to get instant gratification, people are prepared to accept a level of risk that they never would have accepted before. Or is it that they're unaware of the risk? The information that people provide when they purchase goods or services online, sign up to memberships, donate to charities, answer surveys, or enter competitions is now raw material for economic activity. It has value. It has value. It is data that can be analysed, augmented, used, sold on, rented, not just locally, but globally, and with tremendous speed. and it's data that organised crime too can use in the same way. Businesses are not immune either. They strive to meet this public demand for instant goods and services, and often in doing so become involved in areas of considerably high risk, with little in the way of effective self-regulation, which leaves them open to exploitation by organised crime. Yet government agencies that collect public data are rightly held to a higher standard. These agencies are often constrained when protecting the privacy of their clients by the requirement to safeguard the data and to compartmentalise it. I would argue that is exactly these safeguards that provide the unforeseen edge for organised criminality. Such a framework provides the very environment organised crime will seize upon, because they know that law enforcement can't have the full picture. They know that we can't access all the disparate personal information in government data management systems across the country. They know that this hampers our ability to connect the dots, to see the trends, to analyse and provide the lifeblood for wide-ranging investigations. And they leverage off this. The idea that information is currency is, of course, not a new one. Information is valued by law enforcement and critical to effective responses. And we rightly operate in a world of checks and balances, of monitoring and audits on how such information is used. Information is valued by the population that we protect, who use it as their key to instant services, education and entertainment. And so how does organised crime target value this information that we all trade in? What do they see when they look into the virtual world? They see technology pipelines flooding with rich data that can be turned to profit. They see a world in which they can operate largely with impunity. And they see a world where they do not need to have the necessary expertise because they can buy it in. They can download manuals, do-it-yourself virus kits, or visit bulletin boards for tips and advice. And when they make their profits, they can see new ways of laundering their money. Criminal groups are collecting data, making decisions, broadcasting their views, recruiting like-minded people relatively quickly using these networks, as well as blogs and websites, anywhere, anytime. We've seen an example of this very recently in Australia during an investigation called Operation Hoffman, which uncovered a multi-million-dollar crime syndicate with international linkages between drug importers, outlaw motorcycle groups and criminals in the Australian maritime industry. A key target, Hackernaic, as represented in a recent Four Corners program by Nick McKenzie, is a prolific user of these networking sites. He has a profile on a business networking site in which he lists himself as an entrepreneur and director of multi-capital trading. He also has a MySpace and Facebook site. Two of his Facebook friends recently arrested in Sydney in connection with drug manufacture. And video clips on the same site of him with expensive cars, jewellery and trips around the globe, and also associating with another Chinese gangster. Yet AIC's propensity to so publicly display his status is at odds with our conventional profile of organised criminals wanting to fly beneath the radar. So we ask why. Is this a case of someone inflating their role? Certainly this year we saw a similar incident in Italy, where one of its most wanted criminals, Pasquale Manfredi, was arrested after being tracked to his Facebook website. So we see lots of examples now of the use by criminals of this borderless world. Yet we in law enforcement continue to fight the battle largely within the confines and restrictions of our own sovereign jurisdictions. We are seeing increasing successes with our domestic agencies and with the overseas law enforcement community, but we have a long way to go. We need to ask ourselves, what kind of law enforcement or industry partnerships can we form to do this? What kind of information sharing arrangements must be in place? And what technology model should we employ? I dare say we even need to ask ourselves the question, what sort of investigators do we need? We also need to be mindful of the bigger international picture. We need to understand the offshore networks, and we need to be capable of tackling this much larger problem. We need to maintain an innovative capacity through research, and we heard from Richard earlier about the research work of the Australian Institute of Criminology. Research, through training, recruitment of specialists, and our technological capabilities. These are some of the real challenges that we're facing. At this point, we don't have all the answers, but we continue to build our domestic, national and international perspective on organised crime that'll make us more resilient and better armed for the future. There's little doubt that we're on the cusp of dealing with an environment that is even more fragmented and difficult. But the worst thing we could do, I think, is give up on organised crime, give up on this so-called fifth estate as too big, too difficult to tackle. Organised crime would see this as absolutely sublime fortune. And I can tell this group here that I, for one, have no intention of giving them that satisfaction. Thank you very much for your attention today. It's been great to present to you, and I think, Adam, we have some time for a question or two. Thank you very much.